On behalf of everyone here at CentralReach, I would like to thank you for attending CR Unite 2020 virtual conference. My name is Nicole Matthews, and I am the Director of CentralReach Best Practices. I may have met some of you last year at CR Unite. If so, welcome back. If not, we are happy you are attending this year. This may feel a little different, and this may not be Las Vegas, but the information will be equally impactful and informative. There is a chat box on the right-hand side of your screen. Please feel free to make comments or ask questions at any time during the presentation. Myself and my colleague, Kara, will be monitoring and answering the questions throughout the presentation. Here are some of the questions I think you may have. 1, what are best practices and how does my role correspond with those best practices? What is the CentralReach best practice approach? Why consider best practices for your organization? Which workflows are mapped out and which ones will be mapped out in the future? What does adoption look like? And how will CentralReach help you adopt those workflows? So we'll start with my role and how we got here. I'll begin by telling you a short story because it was one fall day in Pompano Beach that has brought us here, or at least me here presenting this topic to you. In October 2019, members of CentralReach's client operation team held a 3-day transformation baseline workshop. For anyone not familiar, the goal of any transformation baseline workshop is to assess the operating condition undergoing change from multiple perspectives to define a new state. This is done utilizing internal cross-functional teams participating in or impacted by operating practices. Ultimately, our team will work through a current state to a future state proposal approach with the intent to gain feedback and approval and institute a new future state design outcome. For us, the purpose of our workshop was to bring together your favorite subject matter experts to help define the customer experiences and to carve out next steps to institute a newly defined customer experience, which would ultimately lead to a standardized process across organizations. Specifically, we intended to create operational processes to successfully onboard a client across all customer segments, define CentralReach Enterprise Standard ABA workflows and account setup configuration as a standard approach, and third, outline a plan to make our future state live. During those 3 days, we used dozens of dry erase expo markers, an absurd amount of wall-sized Post-it notes, bags of candy, and desserts. We had some tough conversations about what it is that we were doing then and how we could make it better. As you can imagine, and as we all know, change is difficult, and refining a process that has always been done like that is 10 times more challenging. It's been a year, and what a year it has been. We've all learned how to pivot along the way. But our initial planning stages are coming to nearly completed, and we are now ready to share this information with you, our customers. As for my role, we really hadn't planned on having a director of CentralReach best practices, but the quicker we were closing the loop on our initial phases of our project and with the steadfast release calendars of our product team and what they adhere to, the more we realized the role was going to be a necessity. My role is to build and establish CentralReach best practice framework to successfully onboard new customers and refine the workflows of our CR installed base. I will be creating standard account configurations. I will align our current and future customers with CentralReach's best practices for practice management and clinical workflows, as well as adding in auditing and reporting. I will be enhancing CR's best practice workflows on a go-forward basis, and then I will be communicating and align the CentralReach best practices both internally and externally. So, what are best practices? At CentralReach, best practices are our standard set of guidelines and ideas that represent the most efficient course of action or workflow for using our platform. We know CentralReach can be tricky, and there's a lot to learn. Sometimes there's multiple ways to perform the same action. There's decisions to make regarding labels and filters and setting up configurations. These are the type of things we want to make easier for you. These are the type of things we want to frame out for you. So, what is the CentralReach best practice approach? Our best practice approach is to create best practice workflows encompassing all of the great features that CentralReach has to offer. We want to provide you the end-to-end workflows you need to run your business. Starting from a phone call you receive from a parent inquiring about services to posting the payments for those rendered services, we're going to map it all out for you. If you wanted to, you could lay all of the workflows out on your conference room floor end to end to see what your employees are doing throughout the day. Our best practice approach includes collaboration. CR's product team initiatives will enhance the best practice workflows. New features and functionality will value add to the best practice workflow version. Prioritization of open support cases will be based on the CentralReach best practice workflows. Our best practice approach includes customer education. LMS courses, live and pre-recorded webinars, and implementation will all reflect best practices. And finally, our best practice approach includes visibility. Iterations of workflows will be communicated directly to you. CR will document each version of each specific workflow that you are adopting. Customer success and customer support will have a bird's eye view on your organization's adoption. CR communities users will have access to this information also. So, why consider best practice adoption? Standard processes and workflows guarantee quality because work is done in a predefined, optimized way. You will improve clarity. Because of a standard process, you will eliminate the need for guesswork or extra searching. Each department, each staff will know their role and their responsibilities. You'll be promoting productivity because your employees won't need to ask around or comb documentation in order to get answers. Fluid, documented processes will be screaming productivity. And last, but certainly not least, boost employee morale. Because employees can take pride in having mastered the process they are responsible for and feel confident about their refined skills. If processes are governed by standards that teach employees to do efficient, high-quality work, the employees are more likely to take a sense of ownership and pride in the work that they do. Instead of uncertainty, inefficiency, and frustration, the employee will have a prescribed way to accomplish their assigned tasks. The result is likely to be greater employee morale. New employees will have enjoyable, quick, role-based onboarding within your organization, knowing exactly what it is they're responsible to do in their new role. CentralReach prides ourselves on maximizing the success of not only your clients, but also your employees. We are all about optimal outcomes at every level. We all know that a successful company begins with a strong foundation. Let our standard workflows give you the extra support that you may need. In a nutshell, it really is that simple. Efficiently managed workflow redesign can help maximize efficiencies, remove chaos from your current workflows, allowing your team to do more in less time, maximizing their performance. We have identified the most important workflows in the CentralReach Enterprise platform. These are the workflows needed to run a successful business. Whether you are a new business or a mature business, we will have you covered. Our standard workflows will continue to evolve as we continue to add new subscriptions and functionality. Today, our standard workflows are client onboarding, employee onboarding, initial and recurring authorizations, scheduling, billing, payment posting, employee time tracking, and for clinical, creating a learning tree and creating a session. Our additional subscription workflows will include CR Mobile and Change Healthcare. Future will include Advanced BI, which will complement standard workflows. CR Insights, again, will complement our standard workflows. And scheduling optimization. Here's a sneak peek at a standard workflow structure. All best practice workflows will outline role-based swim lanes responsible for a set of tasks in order to complete a workflow. CentralReach will outline everything for you. The swim lanes, the tasks and responsibilities, the permissions that are needed for each of these swim lanes, additional access, and additional resources such as audit checklists, recommended filters, and labels will all be provided to you. Here is another workflow, a little sneak peek. All best practice workflow maps will reference other best practice workflow maps. Doing so will keep the communication around processes fluid and manageable. In this example, the best practice process map for client onboarding will be followed by authorizations and scheduling workflows. What you will see is this is client onboarding. From the time a parent calls to inquire about services, you will be able to do their onboarding here. The next maps will be for getting an authorization and then through scheduling with reoccurring appointments. So what will adoption look like? In life, anytime we want to make a change, we go through a process. Here at CentralReach, we're going to take you through that same process. We have 6 steps that I'm going to walk you through. Define your why, discover your today, redesign your process, inform and enable your teams, set your team up for success, and measuring performance. The first step is to define your current state. We can start to ask, do you currently have internal documentation of processes? And to piggyback on that, do your internal documentations define an end-to-end process? Let's define why you are doing something a certain way. What are the resources that you have available to you or you may not have available to you? And if you could, would you change? Would you modify? Would you enhance your current processes? What would be your ideal end state? We often get used to historical processes, and the thought of changing them seems either unnecessary or too much work when there are so many other priorities on the table. In the next few days, I encourage you to take a few moments to map out your ideal end state, especially if you didn't have any constraints. What would that look like for your organization? Discover your today. What has changed at your organization since your implementation? Or if you weren't there for implementation, maybe since your first day working at your organization. Have you expanded? Have you added new locations, acquisitions, or additional types of services? How have your internal processes changed while your business structure changed? If you've added departments or more employees, did your process change? When you added new features and subscriptions, how did those tie in to your current workflows? Unfortunately, initial workflows are rarely scalable in the long run. So as we move to number 3, we start to talk about redesign. Most often, new ways of doing things are needed in order to accommodate your growing business. However, and more often, nostalgia wins over innovation, and people have trouble letting go. Remember the story I told you at the beginning? Those 3 days in Pompano? There was a lot of subject matter experts in that room, and we all had a piece of CentralReach, a process that we thought was great, and it was hard for some of us to let go of those, knowing that there was a better process. People feel as if I can do it with my eyes closed, it must be working. Or if it works, it must be a good process. Not necessarily so. Adaptation is important. Part of survival is the ability to change as the need arises. CR teams are working tirelessly to create efficient, streamlined workflows. CR is mindfully looking at roadmap items which will enhance these best practice workflows. And as CR redesigns, we want to share with you what we're doing. Making standardized processes which are easy to follow and get the job done most efficiently is our business and our commitment to you. Inform and enable. As you perfect your business and expand, heterogeneous workflows start to break down. The struggle of overworked, exerting too much energy into getting one process done, it's real. This may lead to additional staff needing to be hired, additional overhead, things taking a while to be done. In addition, people hold their unique way of doing things very close to their heart. Convincing employees to give up a unique methodology in exchange for a singular process is no easy task. J. Richard Hackman was a pioneer in the field of organizational behavior. He began studying teams in the 1970s. And in more than 40 years of research, he uncovered a groundbreaking insight. What matters most to collaboration is not personalities, attitudes, or behavioral styles of your team members. Instead, what teams need to thrive are certain enabling conditions. A compelling direction, a strong structure, and a supportive context. Agreeing upon certain work with standardized workflows is an effective way to keep your employees happy, possibly decreasing burnout, and keeping a lean model. CentralReach is here to hand you the best practice workflows and to help your team succeed. You will be provided a rule-based workflow map to hand to your employees for reference for a new or modified process, or to hand to that new employee on their first day of work. And setup. Through CSL Cadence, webinars, and educational materials we have made here at CentralReach, let your CR staff walk you through the workflows. We will be allowing ample time for you to set up and train your staff prior to adoption. First, choose the workflows you want to adopt. Create a timeline for your adoption for each of those workflows. Work with our team to identify any information gaps needed in your account. We'll get your account set up so you are ready to teach that new workflow. And then use our workflow specific courses and webinars to supplement any role-based employee trainings. And finally, measure. We are all data people, and CR has your workflow adoption data covered. Your team will be able to see all of your workflows, version iterations, and your adoption dates in your CR community account. On our end, our teams will also have the same data visible to us. We'll always know where you're at on your adoption journey. January 2021, a new year, a new focus. January 2021 is going to be our official launch of our standard workflows. We still have some planning to do on our end, and as you know, you should never rush a good thing. In the meantime, remember, define and discover are the two first steps. Chat with your internal team, and then talk with your customer success leads. Talk about your current workflows, what you like, what you don't like, what would you like to improve. Talk about your growth and your end goals with your account managers here at CentralReach. We are all listening, we are all taking notes, and we are all here to help. As we prep for our standard workflow releases in January, I wanted to make sure I wouldn't disappoint anyone. So I'm happy to show you some of our current additional subscription workflows, which we are now ready to share. Our product and mobile teams have been working nonstop to introduce an application. Our newest app, CR Mobile, even supports electronic visit verification. CR Mobile workflows with and without EVV, as well as clinical or PM only, have been created. We are doing our best to take the complication out of rolling a new app out to your team. Isn't it going to be awesome to be able to hand these workflows over to your staff? No narrative needed, nothing for you to create, no more instructions, no extra work. We've done it all for you. For this workflow, CR Mobile with EVV, you will see the 4 swim lanes have been identified. Each of those swim lanes has a set of roles and responsibilities. The arrows are going to be connecting to the next action that needs to be taken. If there's a decision point, you will have the ability to read that decision point and decide what your next actionable step is going to be. At the end, you will have your process completed. Here is another CR Mobile workflow. This is CR Mobile with clinical data collection only. As you can see, this one only has 2 swim lanes. The organization who needs to subscribe to CR Mobile and set up the permissions and the access to use the mobile app, as well as have access to sessions. And then the provider. And we have step by step shown the provider what they need to do in order to log into their app, start their session, collect and save their data, and then end that session. It will take them all the way through to creating timesheets. When you subscribe to CR Mobile, all of these workflows are going to be made available to your organization, outlining best practice. You will need to decide which flows you need to distribute to your staff based on how you plan to use CR Mobile for your business. I want to take a moment and say thank you. Thank you for coming to my presentation today. And if you have any additional questions outside of the questions you are leaving in the chat, please let us know. Please reach out to your CentralReach customer success leads or to your account managers, anyone on your pod team, and they are more than happy and very excited to get you going on your best practice adoption. So I will leave you with 3 simple words: improve the process. Thank you, and I hope you have a great day.